I've noticed something strange about people who stay broke. They always have an opinion about everything, about politics, about markets, about success, about other people's lives. They argue endlessly, loudly, emotionally, but if you watch quietly, you'll see the truth. They're not defending logic, they're defending identity. Because for most people, being right feels more important than becoming rich. Here's the pattern: broke people debate the world, rich people decode it. The poor mind reacts, the rich mind reflects. The poor mind needs to prove something, the rich mind needs to learn something. That's not arrogance, that's evolution. I've spent years watching the same dynamic repeat itself in offices, online, even at dinner tables. The ones struggling financially are always the loudest. They talk the most, they defend their opinions like their lives depend on it. Because for them, opinion is identity. They mistake noise for significance. Meanwhile, the wealthy sit quietly, not because they don't care, but because they understand that every argument costs energy. And energy is the real currency. If this already feels like something no one told you before, pause for a second and follow rich logic. Because understanding energy is how you stop trading emotion for illusion. Broke people argue because arguing makes them feel powerful. In a world where they feel powerless financially, control through words is the last weapon they have. It's a psychological trick. When you can't control your results, you try to control opinions. You attack what you don't understand. You mock what you secretly want. You resist what challenges your identity. That's why poor people love debates more than decisions. Debates feel productive. Decisions are risky. The wealthy, on the other hand, know something different. You don't win arguments. You win perspective, because observation creates leverage, and leverage multiplies everything: money, time, knowledge. When you argue, you're spending emotional energy. When you observe, you're gathering data. Arguing burns. Observing compounds. That's why broke people get exhausted, and rich people get smarter. It's not about intelligence, it's about focus. The poor mind obsesses over being seen. The rich mind obsesses over seeing. When you're arguing, your brain is in defense mode. It can't learn, it can't grow, it just wants to win. And that's why you'll never see a billionaire wasting energy on Twitter wars. They don't care who's right, they care who's profiting. There's a saying in behavioral finance: the loudest people in the room usually have the smallest positions, meaning the ones most desperate to sound smart usually have the least to lose. Silence isn't weakness, it's signal. Silence says, I don't need to win this moment, I'm building something that wins over time. Observation is an art most people never master. It requires detachment, the ability to watch emotion without participating in it. That's what separates the powerful from the powerless. Because when you can watch chaos without becoming it, you start to control it. Rich people don't need to be louder. They already own the microphone. The irony is, broke people think they're speaking truth to power, but most of the time, they're speaking emotion to indifference. They waste words trying to change minds instead of studying patterns that could change their lives. They debate the symptoms of the system instead of decoding the system itself. They fight the wrong battle and pay for it with time. If this message is making you rethink what power really means, like this video and subscribe to Rich Logic, because awareness compounds faster than any investment. When I say broke people argue, I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about mindset. A broke mind is reactive, not reflective. It runs on ego, not insight. It seeks validation, not vision. The broke person wants to be right now. The rich person wants to be right later. That's why poor minds spend money fast. They want instant proof of value. Rich minds delay gratification. They want compounding proof of patience. It's the same psychology behind both money and emotion. Arguing is emotional debt. You borrow energy now and pay for it later with regret. Observation is emotional investing. You store energy now and earn clarity as interest. That's why the rich grow calmer with time and the poor grow louder, because energy doesn't disappear, it just changes ownership. Here's the hidden truth no one talks about. Money and emotion follow the same laws of thermodynamics. They flow from high volatility to low volatility, from chaos to calm, from reaction to reflection. The more reactive you are, the more you leak both. The calmer you are, the more you attract both. That's not philosophy, that's physics of perception. I once sat in a room full of wealthy investors. The conversation was slow, measured, no one interrupted. Then I watched a room full of average earners. Everyone spoke over each other. Opinions, noise, emotion. Both rooms were talking about opportunity. Only one of them was creating it. The difference wasn't money, it was emotional architecture. Rich people observe for the same reason scientists observe nature. They're not trying to prove something, they're trying to understand something. They ask, why is this happening? Not, who's to blame? That single shift in question changes everything, because blame burns time. Understanding buys it. When you argue, you protect your ego. When you observe, you protect your energy. That's why broke people think success is about working harder. It's not. It's about thinking longer. The rich can sit in a room of chaos and still process patterns because they've trained themselves to listen for truth beneath emotion. And once you can hear that, you never unhear it. Observation is quiet power. It's invisible leverage. You see people's motivations, you read markets like emotions, you predict trends before data even catches up. Because you're not reacting to what is, you're observing what's forming. That's how fortunes are built, not in noise, but in noticing. The poor mind needs stimulation. It confuses stillness with boredom. The rich mind seeks clarity. It confuses noise with danger. That's why broke people say, I could never sit still. And rich people say, that's why you're still stuck. When you learn to observe, you start to see the hidden structure of everything. Arguments reveal fear, trends reveal psychology, habits reveal values, silence reveals truth. And truth, once seen, can never be unseen. That's the moment you step out of the crowd and start watching it instead. That's the moment you stop playing the game and start studying it. Here's what most people don't realize. Observation is profitable because it reveals timing. Timing is everything. In business, in life, in opportunity, broke people rush. They want instant validation. Rich people wait. They want compound accuracy. That's why the poor chase trends and the rich create them. Observation gives you timing, and timing turns patience into profit. But there's something deeper. Observation also builds empathy. Billionaires understand emotion better than anyone, not because they feel more, but because they watch more. They watch what people want, fear, and ignore. They see emotional patterns before markets price them in. That's why they're never surprised by chaos. They predicted it emotionally months before it appeared economically. Arguing drains you. Observation arms you. When you argue, you spend energy trying to prove your point. When you observe, you gain insight that proves itself. It's the difference between spending and investing. One depletes, the other compounds. And energy is no different from capital. Where you place it defines your future. The poor mindset says, I'll believe it when I see it. The rich mindset says, I'll see it because I'm looking where no one else does. That's the power of observation. You spot value in places emotion can't reach. You stop reacting to the world and start interpreting it. That's not arrogance, that's awareness. The moment you stop arguing and start observing, you become dangerous. Because now, you're unpredictable. You're not reacting to emotion. You're studying it. You're not proving yourself, you're improving yourself. That's how wealth thinks. That's how control behaves. That's how freedom begins. So next time you feel the urge to argue, stop. Ask yourself, is this helping me see deeper or just louder? Because the one who argues may win the AEA moment, but the one who observes wins the decade. In the end, it's simple. Broke people argue. Rich people observe. Because the broke chase noise. The rich collect patterns. The broke seek validation. The rich seek clarity. The broke burn energy trying to be heard. The rich conserve energy, so when they finally speak, the world listens.